Yo, what is going on, everybody? I'm hoping my audio is coming through. Is my audio coming through? I get the thumbs up.
Yep.
Y'all,
You're
there
in.
we go. The Flash tells me my audio is coming through. Batman's telling me my audio is coming through. So we are good to go. So, yo, what's happening, everybody? What's up, Zach? What's up, Miko? What up, Peter? Welcome back to another episode of the Think Big podcast. We're on episode 42. You know what that really means? It means we've been consistently showing up for 42 weeks, nonstop, back to back, here to provide value. And y'all have been showing up with us for those weeks. So, first off, big shout out to y'all for showing up in the audience. Shout out to Peter for commenting and leaving questions before the show even got started. Because today's episode is going to be a special one. We want to give back, to do an open Q&A format, because oftentimes what's interesting is you're watching things on YouTube, you're watching videos, you're watching shows on YouTube, and you have these questions that you want to ask, but you're watching a recording. It's a one-way street. So we want to open it up tonight to be a two-way street. And what we did was Alejandro, Sam, myself, we opened up our Instagrams. People were sending in messages. I actually got a really, really amazing question from some dope, young, amazing entrepreneurs out here in Arizona that I want to make sure we answer tonight, because these guys are young, they're hungry, they're hustling, they're killing it. They're actually going to be here at the Mindset Manor Mastermind in September. So I'm excited for that. They saw the event, they saw the opportunity. They're like, yo, the opportunity to come and be in the room with other people. I'm there, and I love that sort of action. I like when people, they see opportunity and they don't think about it. They jump off the cliff and they're like, I'm going to build the airplane on the way down. So I'm excited for this. Also, what up, Ryan? I got to talk to Ryan because we're going to be seeing him down in Florida next week, right, Sam? Right. I feel like we should give people like a little itinerary too, like what's coming up, just because every time I go out to a meetup, and Sam and Alejandro, you tell me if you get this. Every single time I go out, people are like, yo, Mark, like they will stop me and grab me kind of aggressively, actually. Like, shout out to Peter Leggins, aka the Sober Investor, did this to me the other day. He like grabbed me and he's like, bro, where is the next event? And I'm like, I don't know. Why are you asking me? He's like, because you're always at the events, you're always in the right rooms. And I'm like, well, first off, Sam is always in the right rooms. I just follow Sam wherever he goes. And it started to occur to me, it's like, well, you know what? People are wondering where events are, what rooms to be in, what places to go and pop up to network, to go and be around the right people, because their current friends just aren't cutting it. So, Sam, I feel like, could we give people like a little heads up of maybe like some of the things that are coming up here within the next really like 14 to 30 days? Not even 14 days. We got coming up in like 7 days.
Yeah. So one, I think Alejandro, we're getting some feedback from you, bro.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so. Yeah. All good. So, yeah, dude, it's a little bit weirder than that. It's a little bit weirder than, and I think it's a new thing for you and me, where it's not necessarily, hey, where's the next meetup? It's, hey, where are you speaking next? Which is a totally different conversation to be having. And to that point, I'm really glad you said that, because today I actually had someone urge me strongly to put together like a website or like a quick landing page or something where it just has the itinerary. It has like where Sam's speaking at next. And I'm like, damn. So just so you guys know, this is going to be a pretty amazing time, because especially over the next, dude, I mean, not even over the next, Alejandro, you're good now, dude. Marlon, you're not getting any feedback, right?
No.
Okay, amazing. So over the next, it's not even the next 30 days. I mean, the next 30 days are going to be crazy. Next 45, next 3-4 months are going to be crazy. But just in the next 30 days alone, in the next 14 days alone, I'm going to be speaking tomorrow in West Hollywood. I'm actually headlining an event down there for the SoCal crew. That's going to be an amazing one. We're going to talk about basically something that Marlon, you were actually there with me to invent it, just like you were there with me to have founded Six Figure February. It was in Miami. Technically, it was in Orlando. It was in Orlando where we came up with Quarter for the Quarter, which is showing people how to make $250,000 in 3 months. $250,000, $250,000 in 3 months. It's a calendar quarter. So tomorrow in West Hollywood at the Mondrian, which is like this beautiful hotel, we're gonna be doing a condensed version of Quarter for the Quarter. next week, Marlon, you and I are going to be sharing a plane together, and we are going to be flying to co-speak together, which is going to be epic, in Orlando, Florida. Then we're going to hijack a plane real quick for a couple days to go to Puerto Rico to help run an event with Jerry freaking Norton. That's going to be a little bit amazing. That's going to be in Fajardo, Puerto Rico. We're going to be there with Jerry Norton and Vina Jetty and Pace Morby, and then letting those guys shine because they deserve all the spotlight in the world. And then I think selfishly, we're going to take that spotlight back a little bit because you and I are going to jump back on a plane back to Florida, and we're going to be speaking and co-speaking in Jacksonville. So, dude, and that's in the next 14 days. So, guys, Marlon and I are dead set, and he and I actually had this pretty amazing private meeting today. I'm not going to talk about what it's about, but for another speaking engagement, that's going to be a 3-day event later this year. So we're going on tour, guys. Sam and Marlon Take America. It's happening this year. So if we're anywhere near you, guys, drive an hour. Come say hi to us. Don't just consistently see us on YouTube. See us wherever we're at. We want to meet you. We want to be able to give you guys hugs, get photos, all that good stuff, because there's a different vibration to physical proximity. But yeah, man, we could go on forever because we got a lot going on.
Yeah, bro, I'm hyped, y'all. Like, I'm out here, I'm trying to shake babies and kiss hands, yo. Like, let's go. Yeah, let's go.
I heard that wrong. I thought you said make babies.
No, you heard that right.
I was like, you make babies? All right. Shake it. Wait, you say shake?
So yeah,
there you go. And Marlon's gonna shake your baby. All right, Alejandro, let's get into it. Because otherwise Marlon's gonna keep saying dumb things. But that's okay.
I'll get weird with it, man. I'll get real weird.
What?
All right.
All right, let's do it, guys. We've got Q&A. Guys, we've got an open Q&A. We've got a ton of DMs amongst the three of us from our Instagrams. We're going to be spending a lot of time going through those. We're going to be spending time going through the live questions in the chat. Me, I love getting questions in the chat. It's like one of my favorite things because I can't help but watch the chat and I can't help but want to answer things. So if you guys have questions, blow up the chat right now. We're going to get to it. But Alejandro, you want to start us off?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I have some pretty cool questions. Let's see here. And this is great because all these questions being asked are going to be answered by three amazing individuals right here. So you get to see multiple different perspective and point of views, you know, because sometimes the things I may say may not resonate with the person, right? Maybe the way Sam said it or the way Marlon said it. So I have first question here on Instagram. I have how to maintain balance between multiple sources of income and personal life. What do you think about that, man? That's a really great question. I can't see the name here. I can't really pronounce it. But how to maintain a balance between multiple sources of income and personal life. Now, for that, I will definitely need to have a little bit more context. I don't really know if you have partners. I don't know what type of businesses. I don't know if maybe a few of the businesses you have are actually hurting your success, you know, so I don't really have much context there, but I'm going to assume that you're saying that you're overwhelmed. There's a lot going on. Perhaps maybe some of the business or source of income you're working on, it's not as much as you want it to be. I already know Sam's answer. But I'm going to say this. How to focus on multiple sources and your personal life. Number one, your personal life should be your business life. That's just my take. Everything, when people ask me, what are your personal goals and what are your business goals? They're all the same. They're both the same because the business is going to reflect on how I live my personal life. So this is how I like to merge those in. So that's one, you can cut that out. Personal life, bring it into business life. Again, Sam and Marlon might have a different point of view, but I believe if I can continue providing for others, that is my personal life. I get to provide for others and solve tons of problems. I mean, I can't really sit down and imagine what quote unquote personal life would look like. What does that look like? Where I'm not doing business? What am I watching TV? Am I cooking? What does that look like? I don't know. I can't even think about it. Doesn't make sense to me. And as far as the multiple sources of income, again, that will depends on the context. I don't know what's going on with them, but I would personally focus on what you love and what you enjoy doing, and whatever business provides that enjoyment, that enjoyment for you. Focus on that business. And then the other multiple sources of income, again, I don't know what's going on, but I would say if you don't have partners, go find partners. I would, probably love that more than you will. And share the pie, grow the pie, because you can't do that all by yourself. So that's my take on it. And I want to keep it short because, I already know we can go into one episode just based off that, but we want to get to everyone's answer. What are your thoughts, Sam? I'd love to hear yours, man.
I mean, the reality is I can't go super in depth because we don't have enough context here. So what I'm going to do is, I think Alejandro gave a phenomenal answer, because it's living life by design, right? We design the life that we want to live, and I'm all for that. I'm gonna go ahead and generalize this question because it was a little bit vague, and amalgamate it to another question we consistently get, and it's basically work-life balance, right? How do we achieve work-life balance? How do we balance family and work and being an entrepreneur and all this kind of stuff? And so in general, I'm going to keep it down to a mindset shift between work-life balance, because when you say work-life balance, what you're saying is, you're inherently saying is there needs to be compartmentalization or segmentation between the two. And one thing that I consistently see is people who try to have a clear-cut differentiation between being an entrepreneur and a business owner, and being a family-oriented, family-dedicated human being, is it's rough, it's hard. And sometimes when you do that, what you're doing is you run the risk of them coming at the cost of one another. One succeeding, the business succeeding, will come at the cost of me maybe spending less time with my family. So whenever we have this segmentation or compartmentalization, I think there is a power to maybe asking ourselves, can we integrate a little bit more? Some of the people that I tremendously look up into this industry, they've done a really phenomenal job of integrating as many parts of their family lives with their business as possible, right? There's people like Pace Morby, who works with his wife. He was partners with her for quite a while. He takes his kids onto certain seller appointments. He will have the entire family come out and set up an Airbnb together. And so there isn't necessarily this hardline segmentation or separation. It is, how can we actually combine the two as much as possible so it never feels like one is kind of parasitic to the other? Because when you have that vibration, it ends up hurting everybody and everything. So in general, I say that. And then just to piggyback off what Alejandro said, is Alejandro's right. Like, find partners that you can kind of lean on, and they can run things without you. I think, just to give a different contrarian kind of opinion, instead of finding a partner, because when you find a partner, you give up equity in companies, you give up profit share, you give up this massive thing. Get better at delegating. It's great to have multiple income streams, but it becomes extremely difficult to have several income streams that are all reliant on you showing up. So it may not even be partners are needed. It may just mean that you need to become better at studying delegation and hiring. So I'm going to say that for now, and then I'm going to get it up to Mr. Mindset Marlon. Come on, dude. Marlon, you're muted. Oh, you're muted. You're totally muted. It's the sauce. He's given up the sauce and he's muted again. He's always
muted. All right, I'm back in the game. So I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, because you guys both you hit the nail on the head. And I just want to remind everyone of this phrase. It's work-life integration, right? Just like Sam said, when there's that balance, we are trying to compartmentalize, and that trying to compartmentalize has the tendency to hurt us. Instead, look at how does it all integrate. And here's my opinion. You guys know it's Mindset Marlon, right? Like, I focus on mindset. I focus on the why. This is something I learned from Jesse Itzler. Jesse Itzler is the husband of Sarah Blakely. Each of these individuals are billionaires in their own right. Sarah Blakely was the founder of Spanx. Jesse Itzler made his money in private jets and business acquisitions and just being a really awesome human being. What he spoke about was, you plan your life first You actually create your life, create the moments, create the memories and experiences on a calendar, right? Look at a calendar at the beginning of the year when you're mapping out your year goal. And instead of putting your business goals in there first, start to put your life goals in there. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to get very specific and granular. Once per quarter, put a bucket list item, right? You wanted to go skydiving. You wanted to go to New Zealand. You wanted to go camp at Zion. You wanted to go to the Grand Canyons. Put something like that on your calendar once per quarter. Once per month, put something that you like to do that you don't get to do regularly. Maybe this is going to the beach with your dogs. Maybe this is going on a date in the city with your girlfriend. Whatever it is, put that thing once per month. And then once per week, put something that's uncomfortable, but it grows you in a way. So maybe it's a tough workout, whatever it is, once per week, you put that on the calendar. So you've got your weekly, monthly, and quarterly life situations that make your life amazing, that build the experience of your life. And now that those things are locked in stone, begin to build your business plans around that. Begin to build the rest of your life around that so that you never neglect the most important pieces of you. Now, that's my opinion. Again, without much context, I can't give too specific of a. I would love to be able to help you more specifically, whoever you are, user 2578. I don't know who the person is, Alejandro, but whoever that person is, we just need some more context to be able to help serve.
Yep.
On to the next.
Let's do it. Who wants to go next? You want to take a hit at it, Marlon, now that you're here?
I would love to. It's just going to involve me. So what I did is I'm on my YouTube streaming right now on my Instagram. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let my Instagram stream for like 5 more minutes. So if y'all are on Instagram, comment YouTube to come over because I got to go back into my DMs to see what the questions were because I can't pull it up on my cell phone right now. But I do want to go up and answer Peter's question because Peter typed this question in early today. And he said,
wow, we should answer his question
first. Of time, money, deals, etc., and how we're taught since birth how they are scarce, that we are greedy for wanting to be good stewards of them, etc., and how through reprogramming the conscious mind at any time we can recognize these things coming up for us and we can change our mindset to have the goals we go after. I know it's a bit long-winded, I know. And Peter, I love this as like just a topic. So it wasn't even necessarily a question. It's more so like, can we talk about this topic? And you guys know me, I love mindset. I'm happy to talk about this. This is something that when you start to recognize. Earlier today, Sam, like you said, we were in like a private meeting and we're having this conversation with a business owner who's doing 7+ figures in his business. And he's helping people, break out of, they're doing probably like around $250,000 to $500,000. And he's helping them to break into that 7-figure stratosphere. And what we spoke about, I'm going to be going on there to speak to those people just about this alone, mindset, because when we discussed it, it became very obvious. I said it to him. I said, I think the challenge with your people, it's not a tactical issue. They tactically know what to do. It's a mental issue. There's a limiter on them currently, and they may not even be aware that that limiter exists. And sometimes the limiter that we take off of our minds to go from 0 to 10 isn't the same limiter that needs to be removed in order to go from 10 to 100, 100 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000, 100,000 plus. Each time we get to a new level, there's a new limiter that needs to be removed. And this is why it's constantly important that you go back to the fundamentals of what started to birth your original success. A lot of people's original success came from investing in themselves, going and studying something new, becoming a new student again, right? Putting themselves in a position of asking for help. What starts to happen as you start to gain a little bit of success, as you start to gain a little bit of traction, and this is even, everyone defines success differently. Some people, their success is having that 9 to 5 and they just got that promotion and they're making $80,000 per year. They feel like they've made it because they started off making $30,000 per year. And now there's a new ego attached at that new level that they don't want to abandon that ego. But if they're willing to step out into the unknown again, if they're willing to say, I don't know, I need help. If they're willing to humble themselves again to the experience of being a novice, they are opening themselves up to being able to move on that ladder, to climb and ascend again. And this is something that has to be done continuously. It's not a one and done. You're running a forever game. You're playing a forever game. And last week we spoke about this, finite players versus infinite players. Transition your mindset to being a infinite player. And the way we do that is expand time horizon. Expand your time horizon. Think further out. Because do you want to be arriving 5 years from now in the same position that you're in today? Probably not. However, just imagine what it would feel like and be like to, for the next 5 years, ask for help, open yourself up to being able to do more, be in those bigger rooms. See yourself doing that. See yourself being around people who are constantly growing. In fact, before this call started, and I'm going to stop talking in 2 seconds. Before this, like we started this episode tonight, Alejandro and me were hanging out backstage, and Alejandro says, "You know what, bro? I'm really grateful for friends like you." I was like, "What do you mean?" Alejandro says, "Dude, if you were like one of my old friends, we would just be talking about, going out and getting a drink after work or doing this or doing that." He's like, "But I love seeing that my friends are just actually out there doing the work, just working on themselves, growing every single day." How cool is that? So, Peter, appreciate you for that, bro. Great, this topic that you brought up.
Yep.
I think that's a good one. I don't know how to hit on that any better. I mean, that is the epitome of having an abundance mentality, having the perspective to attain it and rewire your brain from the scarcity that society has generally kind of given us. Society defaults people to a scarcity mindset, and that's natural and that's fine. It requires a very intentional reframing and rewiring of the brain. I don't think anyone can teach on that better than Mindset Marlin. So Alejandro, I don't know about you, man, but I want to move on to the next question because I can't follow with that. I only look back.
I would just put on there that a very simple way you can look at that is the person you're taking opinions from, are they doing the things you want to become in life? And if the answer is no, just move on. Respectfully say, "Hey, I appreciate your opinion." I think I said that to someone the other day. I felt really rude saying it, but I told him I don't value your opinion, so I'm sorry. But thank you for what you said, and I just moved on. I think that came off really rude the way I said it, because it was like that person was talking for a really long time, and that person it's nowhere close to doing the things I want to do in life. And it just came out. I guess maybe it was supposed to be an internal thought. I don't know. But if they're not doing the things you want to do in life, you probably shouldn't pay attention to their opinions. Not saying that their opinion is not important, but they probably don't have the point of view that you're needing currently to move on to the next level. So always look for someone, that's in a higher level than you are. That's all I would like to add to what Marlon said. Marlon hit it right nail on the head.
Dude, I love that. I want to comment real quick on what Alex put up here. Rewiring your brain and perspective on what's right and wrong is really hard, but very important for growth. And I agree with Alex. It's difficult work. And just look at it like going to the gym. This is for everybody. Look at it like going to the gym. It's something you got to do daily, right? You've got to go and grow your mind daily, every single day.
Yep.
Sam, you got a question over there that you want to? I got one, by the way, too. I got one that I promised someone I would answer on the call tonight.
Let's do this. I'll lead this next one, and then we'll definitely get to that one. So I've had this question every time I do a Q&A. Every single time someone asks this in some way, shape, or form, and I'm going to synthesize it down to at least common denominator question. And it's usually coming from our fellow men. Every time I've done this, every single time. It is now, anytime I do a Q&A, we always think we know the question that's always going to come up, the most common denominator. And we usually think it's, how do I get started, right? How do I go and get my first deal? What's the best list? Like, we know those ones. This one has become one of those default questions I know always comes up. I put up the Q&A just before very recently before we went live, and already got it. And it always ends up being the same question. Hey, I'm basically not getting the success I want in investing, and my wife wants me to go back to work. What do I do? How do I convince her to let me keep playing this game? And basically the synthesis is always, I'm a husband, I'm probably a father. I don't know about this specific one, but usually I'm a husband, I'm probably a father. My wife basically let me come and play entrepreneur for a little bit. Haven't gotten a deal, haven't made money. Financial pressures coming back in. How do I convince her to let me stay in? And I've got a very hardline answer. that men typically do not like to hear. And every time I give this answer, usually through like Instagram stories, I'm limited by how much I can text and convey, through a written format. But my answer usually tends to land very well with the females and not very well with the males. The men get kind of upset at me for saying it. But tell you what, I'm gonna hold my tongue here for a minute. Alejandro, I know you're gonna feel strongly about this. What do you think?
I want to make sure I understood. Can you repeat that one more time before I say the wrong thing?
So the scenario is this: husband, potential father, right? Basically convince his wife to let me go and do entrepreneurship. Let me go and try to become a real estate investor. I'm going to go get into a mentorship, go do deals, whatever. They don't get the deal done. They don't make the money. They basically just don't get the success they were looking for. And then now financial pressure's back on. Wife is saying, hey, time to go back to work. We got bills to pay. And the husband almost always, I've noticed this, they always end the question with this: how do I convince her? How do I show her? How do I let her, the wife, let me keep doing what I'm doing? Let me keep pursuing my entrepreneurial dream.
Oh man, there's so many ways I can answer that one. Again, context matter, right? How far he's in the entrepreneurship. This one actually gives me anxiety just thinking about it, because just dream killers, bro. It's like, oh my God. Here's the truth. I'm probably going to be a little bit off as far as where I'm going with this. But as a man, if you're not providing for your women will devaluate you. She would not see the value in you. A lot of people think, and this is just my own personal opinion, guys, something that I noticed by I was reading this book, and it says about 95% of our reality comes from our surroundings, which means that if I offend you in any way, I apologize. Those are not my intentions. It just means you have a different reality, and that's fine. But if you don't provide for your women, for your spouse, as a man, and I'm speaking to the man, she will not value you or respect you how she needs to. How can you expect respect and beliefs from your spouse if she hasn't seen the results? And this is a really hard one, because your wife is sitting in the background waiting for the result. She can only believe you so much, but we are humans and our brains tend to believe things we can physically see. So for her to continue pushing, I don't know how long you've been looking to do entrepreneurship, but I can from my 3 years of entrepreneurship full-time, well, just in business, just in life in general, when people try things, for some odd reason, once you start hitting like that 90-day mark, that's when people just start to have this complete doubt. I'm like, why the frig 90 days? What's up with that? I still haven't figured that out. Maybe Mindset Marlon himself has an answer to that. Even when you tell people, hey, don't expect shit for the next 12 months, at the 90-day mark, I don't think this is working out for me. It's what they would say. I'm like, how do you even fix that? What is going on? What happened to being in it for the long run? I don't know. It's some weird stuff. But going back to it, how you convince is by providing results. That's how you can convince them. That's one way. Another way is by being upfront. I happen to be in a very good position that before I got into a relationship, I was already an entrepreneur. And before I got into the relationship, I told that person that if you try to stop me, you will be immediately deleted from my life. I don't care how long we've been dating. I don't care if it's, we say we love you, I love you, whatever it is. If you try to stop me from my success, I will delete you from my life, period. And it felt good saying that, because the visions I have for myself, the goals I have for myself, I truly do believe in it, and only myself can believe in it. It's what I believe, right? Because how can somebody internally understand your goals and your beliefs if they have a different reality than you do? The only way that they will start to believe you again is by results or consistency. Something that I do. Marlon and Sam, believe that when I say something, they truly believe that I will do it because they understand I have been consistent and they've seen that by my actions. And it's really difficult. I've talked to many people on the phone, on Zoom calls, thinking of, having divorce and stuff like that because their spouse is not supporting them. And I don't think divorce is the option. Anytime the thought of breaking up in a relationship, I instantly go, and this is probably my newer mindset. I go into, what if this was the only person on the planet? Would I be thinking this way? And this is what I mean about, you guys heard me say this a lot, is changing the definition of a certain outcome so you can have a more positive outcome from it. If you have a negative belief on something, try to turn it into a positive belief by defining it differently, right? Because people think, oh, I'm just going to find somebody new. Why? Well, because you are on Instagram and you see multiple choices and you have different options and there's tons of men, there's tons of women out there that you can choose from. That's why people are, and I think this is weak-minded or easy to break up with someone when things doesn't work out instead of actually working towards fixing that certain thing. So, man, I can continue going for hours for this, and I'm just going to stop there. My response to you, sir, is work your ass off, look at your wife in the face and tell her, this is the shit I'm going to do for us. And when she looks at your eyes and you say it to her, she must believe you. She must feel what you're saying. You can't just be like, well, listen, I'm going to try. No, not try. Listen, honey, this is what I'm going to do for us. You're trying to force me to put myself in a position where I cannot provide freedom for our family. So you need to sit down and let me do what I'm going to do to continue moving forward towards my goals. And I don't care whether you stand on the side or whether you with me, I am going to succeed in what I believe that I'm going to do. As you can see, I am surrounded with the right people to get there. So, however you speak to your wife, pretty much sit down and let me go do my thing. So I'll stop right there. Sorry, guys, if that was a bit long. I'm really passionate.
No, you're good. No, that was so good. So what I did, I actually went to my old Q&As and I actually found like one that had a lot of. You guys can you see that? Yeah, I don't know. You guys can't see that. I respond a lot. I have a lot of like text. That's all me right there in that essay.
That's so fun, bro.
But this one actually has more context. It's actually from my previous Q&A. And then it's effectively the same question with a little bit more context. So I was able to give it a little bit more of a thorough answer. And they said, haven't gotten any deals yet. Running out of money lifelines. I'm assuming they have a budget and they pretty much burnt that budget. Wife needs me back to W-2 to pay bills. How do I convince her to let me stay in? So now we have more context. Hey, wife let you try. You set a budget aside. You had a money lifeline. That money lifeline is gone. You got shit to do. So here's my answer. I'm going to speed through it, but I think this is important for men to hear. Time for some hard truth. Your wife doesn't trust you, not in terms of cheating, but in terms of accomplishing the things you told her you would do. You told her you would do real estate and make a shit ton of money and probably buy her a G-Wagon. You didn't. I can almost guarantee it's not because a deal didn't magically fall in your lap, but it's because you didn't consistently put in the right inputs to get the appropriate output or focus your efforts the right way. There's a lot of reasons for why that could have happened, but that's neither here nor there right now. Now she's pissed that you spent your savings, and I quoted, playing real estate, and now she needs you to go back and do what you're supposed to do as a man, and that's provide for the family. If you don't have money and need to pay bills, swallow your pride and go back to a W-2. It's okay. Stabilize your finances so you take the strain and the stressors off the marriage, because that's the most important thing. And when the time is right, come back into the game and do it right, calculated, and have a mentor to hold your hand the entire time. The biggest thing that you have to realize right now, it is not about doing deals. It is about getting her belief, and belief is earned. That was it.
Damn, yo. Damn, when you open up that like wedding counseling.
You guys not want
marriage counseling,
that is not good. Nope. I will single-handedly be responsible for so many divorces. It'll be the dumbest thing ever. That'll backfire in our face. Yeah, guys, like Jade says it. The most important takeaway from all of that is belief is earned.
Correct.
Simple.
I would say
Marlon,
also, to the person who asked that question is be careful with the actions you take throughout the day, man. That's also super important. If you're doing this and your wife catches you watching TV, even though she said, "Hey, let's Netflix and chill," you should be able to say, "Fuck no, I got shit to do." And that type of thing, certain actions like that will help her believe that you truly believe in what you're going to do. But if you're watching TV or you're hanging out with the boys on Sunday and she's there like, "Well, shit, our savings are still going down. What are you doing?" She may not say it out loud, but your actions speak a lot. So just wanted to add that on there.
Yeah, love it. All right. So, I mean, I feel like that was well answered, well articulated. I don't think y'all need an additional response from me. I'm going to bring up another question here. And this came into my inbox about an hour ago. And it says, "Hey, Marlon, know you're crushing in real estate. You're coaching as well. I wanted to pick your brain. My game plan for the year is to send out 50 pre-foreclosure texts per day, call 50 probates, call 100 code violations, and give 10 MLS offers every day, putting up 100 bandit signs per week and 3 digital bandit signs per day. I'm curious if you think good plan. If not, what would your recommendation be? I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make it." And let me give y'all some context. The young man that sent this, he's young, he's ambitious. Him and his buddies their nose down to the grindstone. They hustle, they got energy, they're working out, like they're doing the right things, just looking for some guidance. So it's not total knuckleheads. However, they are relatively new to the space. And I already kind of sent him a voice message back and I asked him as well. I said, what is your team looking like? Do you have people working for you for lead generation, or are you all doing the lead generation? It says to 3 of us, but each of us would be doing what I just described each. So each of us would be doing all the things I just said, all 3 of us. So I already have my answer in my opinion. But I would love to open that up for y'all as well. What would your advice be to this young man and his 2 other buddies that are in this real estate business wholesaling?
This is a really good question for your boy Sam. Sing.
Give me his inputs one more time.
Yep, I got you. It's hard to I wish I could put the text up on the screen because it makes a big difference when you can read it. Basically,
we're gonna have a way to submit the questions.
Right. So my game plan for this year is to send out 50 pre-foreclosure texts per day, call 50 probates per day, call 100 code violations per day, give 10 MLS offers every day, putting up 100 bandit signs per week, and 3 digital bandit signs per day. What do y'all think about that marketing tactic from
so
each of them?
Let me take this on because I'm pretty half decent. I'm pretty half decent at marketing and understanding what it takes to crush marketing in this industry. So much so that I'm literally doing a talk tomorrow about showing people how to definitively scale to $250,000 in 3 months. So I got to say this. I love the fact that they're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go put a bandit sign. So guys, I've never put up a bandit sign in my freaking life, and I never will. That is hard work. That's brutal stuff. Especially if you live in a hot area. So I love the fact that they're willing to put in the sweat equity. I think this is going to be a classic case of like Marlon asked, like, is this you doing it or is it a VA doing it? Because this is a very, 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 that's a very important differentiation. So as far as an industry standard goes, okay, and that means that the marketplace, all of the competition, the people who you're competing with for the same clients. Your clients are who? Distressed sellers of homes. You're competing for that piece of the pie, and there are so many others who are doing the same game that you are. And here's the thing: you're not doing enough. That amount of input, 50 outbound pre-foreclosure texts per day, is not nearly enough. If you actually go back maybe a couple months into the Think Big podcast, we did a 4 or 5 part series called a Lead Gen Mastery. And one of those days, we actually talked explicitly about SMS targeting. And in a median-sized market of about 250 to 600,000 population size, we typically see a blended average of, for every 500 outbound texts, you'll get 1 consistent, solid lead. And so when we tell people to start doing kind of bulk marketing outbound, we want them to do at least 500 to 1,000 texts a day to consistently start generating leads. Now, here's the caveat. Dependent on where they're getting their data, that can be the big differentiator. So what they're doing, 50 outbound texts, 50 calls. Guys, 50 calls sounds like a lot. It isn't. It is not at all. If we have callers who are virtual and overseas and they're using a multi-line dialer of 4, 5, 6 lines, they will easily get over 1,000, well over 1,000 dials a day minimum in a shift. Minimum, or they're going to get fired. So when you go and do 50 outbound calls on your Google Voice number, the unfortunate truth is you're just not feeding the machine enough. And you may be better in skill set and in sales than that virtual assistant overseas. They will still beat you on volume and consistency any day of the week, every day of the week, actually. So I would say, one, ask yourself if you're doing this, because it sounds like this person is doing it themselves. I would say audit and ask yourself, is this the highest and best use of your time? Are you sure there's not other people that can do this exact same task, or systems that, especially with outbound texting, that's a click of a button. You can set that up automatically. Like Go High Level Build CRMs will do that stuff automatically on autopilot for you. All you have to do is turn it on. I would want this entrepreneur. It sounds like they're a little bit newer. They're young. They're hungry. I think they may be caught in. It's one thing to be in the trenches. It's another thing to do things that are below your leverage, below your skill set and your leverage base. I would say hire out a lot of those things. But if you're adamant, you're like, Sam, I don't want to hire these things out to a virtual assistant. I don't want to offload it. I want to do it myself because I know I'm really good at it. Great. You need to be targeting different data sets. So pre-foreclosure is great. Foreclosure is fantastic, but not if you're pulling it from the same place as everybody else. Now you will get hammered because you're basically, if you're going to go pull pre-foreclosures off PropStream, guys, and you're dialing it yourself, you are going to get slaughtered in that marketplace because that's where everyone is getting their lists. And there are teams, people who have full-fledged teams and call centers hammering that list 8 hours a day. And you will always lose to them. So if you want to retain the quality of you being the salesperson on the phone, go after a super laser focused niche data set that 95% of your competition doesn't have. And my recommendation that is go after fresh county courthouse data and get it the second that it comes out. That is going to be your strategic advantage if you want to maintain that marketing. I think that's a good answer for me.
Yeah, no, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head. And what I love, Sam, is you're going to be out here for the mastermind, and so is this young man and his partner. So I'm looking forward to having you pour into him because, like I said, these guys, they're hungry, they're hustling, and there is an advantage to putting in that hard work, that grind, that repetition, because it hardens a person. Hard work hardens a person. However, hard work isn't necessarily going to always produce the result, right? Like working hard by itself does not necessarily dictate results. Working hard creates character. That's what hard work creates. Like you can guarantee get character from hard work, but you don't guarantee make money from hard work, right? Because now it becomes, are you doing leveraged work? The highest use of your skill set and the highest use of your time. So Sam, you nailed that answer. I don't think there's any more to follow up on that one. And if he's not watching right now, I will make sure that he gets this clip cut up and sent to him directly. So appreciate you, Sam. All right, we got some more questions. I can open up my IG now and like pull up some of these questions inside here.
Yeah, I'm going through my old Q&A because I did a Q&A like maybe a month or two ago, and it was fire. I just know that like I got insane amounts of feedback from it. So Alejandro, if you have one in front of you right now, that'd be good. We can go with that one. I'm literally just gonna sift through these and find like an epic question and answer.
Ooh,
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Marlon.
All right, so I got one. Carly Koff says, advise on how you choose your multiple sources of income. So that's a good question. Advise on how you choose your multiple sources of income. I think all three of us are actually going to have different answers. So I'm curious to hear your guys' answers. And I'll share mine because mine's pretty short. for me, and I'm just going to share, Carly, what I did so that maybe you can understand where my thinking comes from. The first thing is establishing the first stream of income. So I learned this actually from one of my mentors. He referred to it as the bucket system, right? And he says the first thing, your job is to go and find your active source of income, your first active source of income. And you need to look at that first source as a well. And you're at the well and you're pumping, 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 pumping. Now, the thing with pumping a well is you only have one arm or one body to pump one well. You can only pump one well at a time because it takes so much priming to build up that vacuum to begin to get water flowing up to start to fill your initial bucket. Some people, that well looks like they're W-2. I have people who are attorneys, doctors, lawyers who are in real estate as well, but their well isn't their real estate investments. It's actually their W-2 earned income because they say, this is where I can go and actively work to acquire X amount of dollars that allow me to fill my first bucket. And what they do from that is they understand this game. If they're intelligent enough, they understand this game well enough to fill that first bucket and begin to let the overpour from the first bucket start to fill buckets that are beneath and surrounding. So if you can imagine, I think her name was Carly. I forgot her name already. I'm sorry. Yep, Carly. So Carly, if you can imagine that you've got this first bucket right here, right? And in this bucket, water starts to flow over the edge. If I could put another bucket down beneath it to catch that overflow, this is how we start thinking about multiple streams of income. So in this case, we started off, the three of us started off wholesaling. We wholesaled properties as our active form of income. So we started to build this bucket up with money, with liquid capital. And as that bucket starts to fill up, and you establish what that number is for when your bucket hits its full point, right? That for some people, it's $20,000, it's $100,000, it's $500,000, whatever it is. When it starts to overpour, that money needs to pour into another bucket where it should not necessarily take your day-to-day involvement. And this is where you start parking it into passive income, into things that are assets, right? By Robert Kiyosaki's definition, an asset is something that simply by owning it produces income for you. So this looks like, in my case, for me, it looks like I do active income. With my active income, I buy and hold properties. So that I build a portfolio, and my portfolio produces income of its own without me having to be there every single moment of every single day to manage it actively. Although, admittedly, I spent way too much time this year managing my portfolio. Oh my gosh. I found out managing a portfolio is work. However, it started to show me you want to keep your focus, and this is my philosophy, keep your focus on a single stream of income while finding other places to put the money that the money can work for you. Things like lending, things like assets, buying income producing properties, JVing with other people, other operators who they will do the day-to-day income, and they take something very little from you. So that's my idea of how I look for those multiple streams of income. I start to look at, will this income stream cost me my most valuable asset, which is my attention? Because I've learned over the last 3 years, that's the one thing that I have a limited supply of, my time and attention. I can't multiply my time and attention. I can only put it in one place. So it's important for me to discern where I put it. And the places I put my capital, I can multiply my capital by putting it in multiple places. I can multiply my knowledge, expertise, network, connections, skill set, the things I have. I can put those things in multiple places to make them reproduce, but I can only put my attention in one place. So I hope that answers the question. But I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear about like this question from y'all. I'll reread the question again, which is, Carly says, advice on how you choose your multiple sources of income.
I'll give a response to it. It would honestly, it would depends on the person. It depends on you. It's how much you can take in throughout the day. There are some people that won't be able to take in multiple sources of income because they will be mentally fatigued very easily. So it just really depends on the person you are. But like Marlon says, build your foundation, where you can step out and it still brings you revenue. That's a good start. It's a great start. That's probably the only way to start, build that foundation. and then figure out what else you would love to do. For me, I vertically integrated other businesses within the same business. I just split them up into different departments. That worked out for me because it's already being done. So I don't have to build anything really. I just have to build. The only thing I have to put in place is a system that I already know how to put in place, and it's already there. I just had to plug it in. I'm like, okay, great. This is something else that we have. And then you can also think about, I thought about other things such as like, how can I get income from majority of the things I do throughout the day? Like, for example, I work out twice a day. Okay, well, can I make money from that? Maybe I can. Maybe I have a mentorship or mastermind, something that people want to join and be like, hey, how do you work out twice a day? What does that do for you? I'm like, okay, just join me. Just join me in a Zoom, and somebody can click and pay me for it. I'm like, oh, I just got paid to work out. That's another way to think about it. So it just really depends on the things you enjoy doing. If you enjoy doing something else, figure out if you can make income from that, because people will pay for knowledge. Now, what's crazy is the knowledge is free on YouTube, but people don't value things that are free. It's actually pretty strange. I value it. I sit down here, watch Alex Hormozy pace Morby for an hour for free, and I'll go implement it the next day. Now, that's just another way of understanding certain things. Not everyone think like that. So sometimes people want to pay for things, even though it's out there for free, just so they can value it more and they can take action on it. So that's what I would say on it.
Yo, did anyone else just hear that Alejandro's about to start an OnlyFans? Right, like pay Alejandro to watch him work out. I caught that, bro. I saw you slide that OnlyFans plug in. I seen it.
I'm out on that, man.
Yo, but no, yeah, Alejandro's absolute. I love that, right? Like where you're looking at, like, hey, what are the things I'm already doing, and how can I produce income based off the things I'm already doing? Freaking love that. Yo, Mr. Sam Singh, you look like you're diving into those DMs, finding some questions.
I've got a pretty decent one. This one's, I was going to, I'm like, should we answer a tactical question? Because I get a ton of like real hardcore business ones that are all about scaling. But I mean, there's a few here. Let's actually do this from King Closer. I wonder who that is. Must be RJ. RJ asks, I'm just kidding. What do y'all closers think the best county list would be, or either the one that you got lost, the one you got I think he meant most deals with. Fellows up to Conrad. If your name is Conrad, or is it Comrade? No,
I think it might be Russian. Comrade.
He didn't get the joke. It's okay. Okay. So he's basically asking, what is the best list? Okay. And for the most part, what is the best county list? And I am a little bit of an optimization kind of guy. I like figuring out what's the best, why is it the best, testing it the hell out, and like definitively figuring out why it is what it is. So there's not actually one best list. In the aggregate, you will find that there are actually several lists that all perform. The reality is this, guys. Almost all lists that have an external motivating factor that will force the sale of a property at one point or a time or another, those are all lists that will work. All that matters is you consistently market to it in a concerted, efficient, effective way. That being said, are all lists built equally? Not necessarily. A tired landlord list, it's a decent list, but there's a reason why you have to pull 50,000 of them, some bitches, to get a deal. Why? Because there's no other pressing time or urgency or distress factor there. What you actually want to do, in my humble opinion, there are actually 8 core lists. In fact, actually there's 6 core lists, and they're all, in my opinion, from my testing, about equal. And the 6 core lists, and this, I'm going to tell you what they are, and then I'm going to tell you why they're important and the commonality between all of them, right? As entrepreneurs, we need to find pattern recognition. That's so critical. The 6 core lists are pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, pre-probate, probate, divorce, and eviction. Marlon, did you spot the one common denominator between all of them?
I mean, this common denominator I picked up is they're all in pain.
They're all in extreme pain, right? Alejandro, you have an idea?
Nope, that's it. Same thing.
Time sensitive.
Okay, there's
Yeah.
more than just pain there. There is a presence of a judicial court proceeding. There is a proven
Ah,
time and time again statistical correlation and almost causation. And in some of those lists with foreclosure, straight up there is a causation. When the courts get involved in the handling of a property and or the dispositioning of a property, what to do with the property during a court proceeding, the chances of that property being sold or turning ownership is exponentially higher than any other list that you can pull. It doesn't matter if it's uncut grass citations or water shutoff or any of that. Those 6 lists are what we call core courthouse data points or core courthouse lists. Target those. It's not one of those. And the cool thing is this: if you target all 6 of them, you'll get enough of a range of situations where you can capitalize on multiple avenues. With foreclosures and pre-foreclosures, you're going to get phenomenal creative finance deals. You're going to get sub-2 deals, right? For a probate, you're probably going to get some fantastic cash deals, maybe even creative deals. Divorces, you're going to get both. You're going to get like everything in between. So same thing with eviction. With eviction, divorce, you're going to get, and probate and pre-probate, those 4 lists, you're going to have cash and creative as potential acquisition strategies. And then on the foreclosure, pre-foreclosure, it's almost unanimously going to be subject to as your acquisition strategy. There may be some other ones too, but those all have a judicial proceeding attached to it. And motivation and pain goes through the freaking roof when you have attorneys and judges involved in your property. Target those. You get those directly from the courthouse. The full transparent truth is not every courthouse is going to be able to provide them to you. Not every single one of them is going to be able to do it in like a reasonable, easy fashion. So you can go ahead and get these lists either directly from the county if you can. Most counties, you may not be able to get the data super efficiently, effectively. You can go ahead and get it from a vendor. I don't want to turn this into like a plug show, but if you are interested on like where just so you guys know, it's the only data set I target. In our outbound marketing, we only target the 6 core lists. That is it. And if you want to know where I get my list, like DM me after on Instagram and I'll get you guys hooked up. But courthouse data. No one private list, just courthouse data.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And I would say, Cora asks, is divorce a good niche? The answer is yes, right? The reason for what Sam just said, I would say the biggest thing, though, is you're going to want to understand, Cora, how to solve that problem. You're going to want to learn how to communicate and speak that language. As you go and you start to tackle these pre-foreclosures, foreclosures, divorces, evictions, these things, you want to start to become the resident expert on these problems, learn everything about these problems, understand these problems through and through. So when you get on the phone, you can sound different because then you can guide the conversation. You can actually walk these people, these homeowners, they're experiencing some of these these situations for the first time, maybe the second time, but it's not a regular day-to-day occurrence as it will be for you as you make this your target, right? You make this the people you want to serve and the problem you want to solve. So I love this.
Let me say this. Fun fact, Cora, I'm really glad you asked that question because so far the first 2 quarters of the year, the first half of the year, we were actually tracking amongst the 6 core lists. They're all crushing. We were actually tracking the performance of them internally for my team. And divorce for us specifically, for my team, my acquisition team, divorce actually produced the best results across the board with the highest, especially for wholesaling. It actually had the highest associated assignment fee. Here's the reality of divorce, though. They can take long sometimes, depending on when you catch it in the divorce proceeding. Because Cora, you said you've been divorced. I'm sure yours may have been a really fast divorce, but there are divorces that take forever to finalize versus a foreclosure that has an auction date in the next 30 days. Like those things are going to be done, right? There's like a buzzer beater there. But for us, divorces have outperformed all the other 5 list types. The reality is Marlon's right. It is a different, very, very, very different sales conversation to have because you are basically juggling personalities, right? You're juggling personalities. You're being an arbiter. You're being a referee between 2 parties. Dependent on the relationship between the 2 divorcees, it can be extremely easy or it can be extremely hard. So to put things into perspective, we one of my favorite deals we've ever done. It was in Las Vegas. So lo and behold, there's a lot of divorces in Las Vegas, the home of the world's strippers. So it was an insane lead because the husband cheated on his wife with her best friend and continued to cheat on her with I shouldn't have said that word earlier. I'll just say professional dancers that work in the city of Las Vegas. You could imagine that for the 4 or 5 months that we were in contact with her, specifically the wife who had been cheated on, it was an extremely difficult sales conversation to have. It was extremely difficult for my closers and for me to juggle, like, consoling this woman who was wronged by her husband. But guess what? We need his signature too. Title required him to sign off too. He had to be on the same page. So I couldn't go in and be like, hey man, you're a crappy man and you suck because you cheated on your wife. Because at the end of the day, we needed him to cooperate and get them to come together at least for a little bit of time to handle the transaction of this property. So divorces are phenomenal. Just be ready to open up a complete jar of worms, because almost always they are a freaking jar of worms. But yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that one. Don't go to Vegas.
Read. And I'll say, in my experience with divorces, I don't know about you guys, I've had a tough time ever making a creative deal work with divorces. They've always turned into cash deals for me, just because each party hated each other's guts so much that they just wanted a clean cut and clean separation. That was, my experience. And maybe y'all are just better than me. I could never get them. Even when one time I got them to both agree, they both agreed that this was the right thing to do. And then once the ex-wife found out that the husband also was in agreement, she was like, no. And I was like, crap, I should have realized. I should have told her he disagreed. I should have just said that, but I didn't know better. Yeah, Jade's like, that's been her experience too. So, we are at the top of the hour. We still have more questions to go. I think what we're gonna have to do is maybe we do a part 2 for the Q&A. Did y'all enjoy the Q&A? Put a yes in the chat, or comment yes, or do this. Comment yes without saying the word yes. Right? Use another word if you got value from the Q&A and you want to see us do more Q&As in the future. I would love to see if this was valuable for y'all, or if y'all are just like, no, just go back to bring Jonah back on, talk about going and getting girlfriends again, talk about getting Kevin Cho a date, talk about that kind of stuff, because that was a funny day we had there. People really like that episode. All right, looks like people are saying, yeah, we got Karen saying C, Core saying definitely, D Cornell, let's go. Aiden's like, yo, I joined late, I got no clue what's happening. All right, so we got to ask you to pay your dues if you just jumped in. If you are tuning in for the first time, if you're a first-time listener, first-time caller, we're lucky to have you. What we're going to ask you to do is go ahead and like this video if you haven't done so already. That's that little thumbs up button. It really helps the algorithm, helps us want to continue growing this. Be sure to subscribe to the channel in which you're watching. And if you're only on Sam's page, because we know that Sam gets the most followers, we know that Sam gets the most love, but if you're only on Sam's page, do me a favor, go over to Alejandro's page, go give Alejandro some love as well, and then go over to my page, give my page some love, and you just do that by subscribing and leave a comment. I want to know what your greatest takeaway is. And also, let us know what sort of videos or what sort of topics you want to see us talk about in the future. We want this show to be for you. You have 3 entrepreneurs on the screen. You have 3 guys who have put in years of work, who are hustling. We're not perfect by any means. I'll be first to admit it. However, we are consistently figuring it out. You're looking at guys who have invested well over 6 figures each individually into their own personal development, into their own education, into their own businesses. We've learned from the School of Hard Knocks. We learned from trial and error. So allow us to share whatever you think is going to be most useful from us to you, so that you could potentially miss some of the pitfalls. I can't remove all of the pitfalls for you. In fact, I never would do that sort of disservice to you as to take away all of the pitfalls, because they build character. However, if we can remove some of the ones that maybe you don't need to spend any unnecessary time lingering in, we would love to be able to do that. And the only way we can do that, we can't assume, we got to ask. We want to know, what do you want to see us talk about in the future? So I appreciate you all for being here. This was episode 42 of the Think Big podcast. We will be back next Tuesday for episode 43. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Sam, Alejandro, any final words for these people before we tune out?
Oh, bro, that was perfect. I can't come behind that. Thank you guys for being here. See you next.
Wait, I do have one thing to mention. Marlon, you and I may actually not be here next week. Sad to say.
Oh yeah.
We will actually potentially be on stage we will actually be on stage at this time. So unfortunately, Marlon and I cannot be here next Tuesday. We will be speaking in Orlando. But you know what that means? Guys, no one actually shows up here for me or Marlon. Like, let's be honest here. Let's actually be honest here. They're here for this handsome brown Bruce Wayne down there. With that gorgeous man beard. But we won't be here next week, unfortunately. That means that, guess what? We're going to come back the week after, and we're going to go 10 times freaking harder for all of you. The only thing that I want to say is I appreciate every single one of you, and that's it.
Bro, I love it. Looking forward to seeing y'all. Enjoy.